Chapter 41. Two punches end the match. The match in the Duhun arena had just finished when the host's voice leisurely boomed across the platform. Next up, Death God versus Lion King. Please welcome both contestants. A roar of excitement erupted from the stands. In the VIP box, Yeshi narrowed her azure eyes as she watched the crowd. Seems this Lion King is well known around here, she murmured. He's got a lot of fans, the staff member at the box's door said, watching the cheers. When Yeshi stood, preparing to leave, the staff member hesitated. Young miss, you should forfeit this match. Why? Yeshi asked, puzzled. The staff member's expression grew grave. You just arrived, so maybe you don't know. This Lion King has fought 30 Spirit Elder level matches, 23 wins and 7 losses. Many of his wins left his opponents severely injured or even in critical condition. She glared briefly at Yeshi's unreadable face. Please, consider it. Yeshi's expression didn't change. Thank you. I'll take it seriously. She stepped from the VIP box and walked toward the arena. The staff member watched her go with a worried sigh. Such a sweet girl. If she loses, with Lion King's reputation, he won't hold back. Ling Yuan sat in meditation with her eyes closed, and Tian Yao fidgeted excitedly beside her. They'd both heard the warning, but neither was worried. Yeshi's true strength far outstripped the Spirit Elder level. Unless she met a top-tier Spirit Ancestor, she wouldn't lose. She could even take on an average Spirit King. On the stage, Yeshi faced a burly middle-aged man nearly 2 meters tall, dressed in plain black. He sneered, towering over her. Why is my opponent a kid today? Little girl, have you been weaned yet? Yeshi said nothing. The man chuckled and clenched his fist. Boring, let's get this over with. Both contestants are on the stage. The match begins now, the host announced. The middle-aged man was the first to release his spirit. A lion's roar filled the arena as his spirit manifested. Bright lion, and 3 spirit rings glittered beneath his feet, their colors and ages indicating a typical seasoned fighter's setup. Yeshi then released hers, Slaughter Angel. 3 spirit rings appeared beneath her as well, but their age distribution was unexpected. 1 short-aged ring and 2 exceptionally ancient 2,000-year rings. The crowd murmured. 2,000-year spirit rings? Isn't the usual optimal setup 1 200 and 1 1,000-year ring? How does this little girl have 2 2,000-year rings and a tiny 1-year ring? The man froze, taken aback by the strange configuration. Before he could react, Yeshi moved. She dashed forward with blinding speed. Her fair hand curled into a fist and slammed into his chest, a gust whistling in its wake. The man barely had time to shout, "You ambushed me," before an irresistible, crushing force smashed into him. The sound of shattering bone echoed across the arena as his body arched and he crashed to the ground. Yeshi's fist glowed with a blood-red spirit fluctuation. Without hesitation, she stepped forward and delivered a second blow to his head. The details were precise, the movements flawless. Only after he lay unconscious did Yeshi withdraw her spirit and look to the host. The host stared at the fallen man in disbelief. He'd imagined many outcomes, but never that the seemingly harmless girl would end the match in 2 punches. It wasn't a match, it was a complete rout. The match is over, the host stammered, snapping back to composure. The winner, Death God. He announced the result with a stunned expression, then watched as Yeshi calmly walked back to her VIP box. In another VIP box, a young man in luxurious blue attire stood by the window, watching Yeshi leave. She's incredibly strong, he said quietly. I fought the one they call Lion King before. He wasn't easy. Oh, Yeshi, Duguyan said, surprised as she recognized her. I didn't expect to see her here. Yanzi, is this the Yeshi you mentioned before? Is she the reason you want to leave Tiando Royal Academy? She asked. The young man, Yanzi, met her gaze, affection hidden in his eyes. Yes, it's her. Duguyan sat and picked at her emerald green nails. Yanzi, if I defeat her, will you stay at Tiando Royal Academy? I'll talk to your grandfather for you. Yanzi sat down beside her, his expression serious. I have my reasons for considering leaving the academy, but if you defeat her, I'll speak to him. Duguyan fell silent and looked at him. After a moment, Yanzi rose without another word and left the box. Chapter 42. Yu Tianheng's Challenge. Yeshi had barely stepped into her private room when Tian Yao greeted her. Second miss, you finished the match so quickly. 2 punches, Yeshi replied lightly as she sat down. clean and swift. Qian Yao came forward, admiration in her voice. He underestimated me. Our strengths aren't equal, Yeshi said, waving a hand. Even though we're both three-ring spirit elders, I'm far stronger than he is. Even if he hadn't underestimated you, you still would have won with a few more moves. Qian Yao poured a drink for Yeshi, then glanced toward the spirit fighting stage below with eager eyes. A knock sounded at the private room door. A staff member entered and walked straight to Yeshi. "Young miss, someone sent you this letter." She handed Yeshi an envelope. Yeshi took it and frowned as she read. "You Tianheng?" Qian Yao leaned in. "You Tianheng? He's challenging you?" Yeshi's confusion showed. She and Yu Tianheng had no ties and had never met. She didn't understand why he would issue a challenge. She set the envelope on the table. "It says he's a 31st ranked spirit elder." Qian Yao scanned the contents with a greedy gleam. "Should I go in your place?" "If Yu Tianheng is challenging me, there's no reason for you to." "I'll fight in your place," Qian Yao interrupted. "If Yu Tianheng can't even beat me, what chance would he have against you?" Yeshi considered for a moment, then nodded. "Tell him I accept the challenge, but it won't be me. It will be Qian Yao. If Yu Tianheng can beat her, then I'll face him." "All right." The staff member bowed and left. Once the door closed, Yeshi grew serious and placed a hand on Qian Yao's shoulder. "Yu Tianheng's spirit rank is on par with yours. Your strength should be comparable, but his beast spirit, the blue lightning tyrant dragon, has a dragon transformation ability. Be careful. Don't take unnecessary risks. Winning or losing the match isn't as important as your safety." Qian Yao's expression tightened. "I know, the blue lightning tyrant dragon is renowned, but my spirit is not weaker. I'll be wary of his dragon transformation." She straightened and walked toward the spirit fighting stage. Yeshi watched her go through the window. On the stage, Yu Tianheng stood in luxurious blue robes, eyes closed as he waited. Qian Yao walked out slowly, her gaze sweeping over him. "So you're the one who challenged my young miss," she said bluntly, pointing. Yu Tianheng opened his eyes and looked her up and down, a chuckle escaping him as if he found her a joke. If Yeshi herself had appeared, he would have treated her with far more seriousness. He had already calculated that against her unusual spirit ring configuration, he would have little chance, even with dragon transformation. Qian Yao, however, looked like a subordinate. Beating her would be simple by comparison. Qian Yao's eyes narrowed at his laugh, a dangerous glint in them. The announcer's voice cut through the arena. "The match begins." Qian Yao immediately released her spirit, the golden crocodile king. 2 yellow rings and a purple ring gleamed at her feet. A deep, dragon-like roar rolled across the stage as the blue lightning tyrant dragon appeared behind Yu Tianheng. 2 yellow rings and a purple ring also materialized at his feet. They moved almost at the same moment and charged. Qian Yao lunged, fist driving forward. Yu Tianheng met her with his own strike. Their fists collided with an explosive impact that shoved them both back, force surging through their arms. Yu Tianheng stumbled 3 paces, Qian Yao only 2. She had the advantage. Yu Tianheng's strength still isn't as good as mine, she thought, letting her hand fall as she watched him closely. A look of surprise crossed Yu Tianheng's face. His probing attack had left him on the back foot, not what he'd expected. The first spirit ring at Yu Tianheng's feet flashed. First spirit ability, Thunder Dragon Claw. Lightning gathered in his palm and he struck. Qian Yao's own first ring flared. First spirit ability, Golden Scale Sky Split Slash. Golden scales shimmered along her arm as she slashed through the air. A streak of golden energy shot toward Yu Tianheng. The thunderous claw met the golden slash midair. Energy rippled outward from the impact point as the 2 abilities locked. The collision left them evenly matched. Yu Tianheng's expression shifted from amusement to a hard seriousness as he regarded Qian Yao anew. Chapter 43. Yu Tianheng's Defeat. Yu Tianheng's gaze was grave, but Qian Yao didn't hesitate. She charged straight at him, her nimble strikes cutting the air with hissing gusts aimed for his vital points. Yu Tianheng read her intent and countered immediately. Attacks laced with spirit power, flashes of spirit abilities colliding across the arena. In the VIP box, Yeshi watched the match, a thoughtful expression in her azure eyes. "From what I can see, Qian Yao has the upper hand," she said softly. "As long as she's wary of Yu Tianheng's dragon transformation, Sister Tian Yao should win easily. Ling Yuan nodded as she watched the fight. On the stage, Tian Yao's offense had indeed driven the tempo. Her blows fell like rain, and despite Yu Tianheng pouring everything into his defenses, he couldn't turn the tide. Yu Tianheng inhaled sharply. His right hand shimmered, fingers elongating into a dragon claw as he swept it horizontally at Tian Yao. She was ready. She leaned back and barely avoided the strike. Dragon transformation, Yu Tianheng announced, his breath coming fast, sweat beading his brow. Tian Yao's expression hardened. You're strong, she admitted. But even if you transform, I can still beat you. The third spirit ring beneath Tian Yao's feet flared. Third spirit ability, crocodile armor, heavenly dome shield. Golden scales crept up her right arm and formed a compact, resilient shield. When Yu Tianheng's dragon claw crashed into it, sparks flew, but an unexpected recoil ran up his arm, leaving it numb. Tian Yao grinned. My third spirit ability reflects 50% of the incoming force. Seizing the moment, she spun and snapped a whip-like kick into Yu Tianheng's arm. He blocked, but the strike drove pain through him. Before he could retaliate, her barrage resumed. Exhaustion began to show. Yu Tianheng's stamina ebbed under her relentless assault. Tian Yao closed in and landed a solid punch that sent him sprawling to the ground. The blue lightning tyrant dragon spirit isn't all that, she said, wiping sweat from her brow. Though she bore a few cuts, she felt exhilarated by the match. Yu Tianheng picked himself up, staring at her. Can the result be announced now? Tian Yao waved toward the host. Yes. The winner of this match is Golden Scale, the host declared, using Tian Yao's code name. After the announcement, Tian Yao withdrew her spirit and began toward the VIP area. Wait, Yu Tianheng called after her. She paused and faced him. I have one question. How far am I from Ye Shi in strength? Yu Tianheng inhaled, bracing for the answer. Tian Yao laughed lightly. You couldn't even beat me, and yet you ask about my young miss? She turned toward him, a playful, confident smile on her face. The gap between the young miss and me? It's like a firefly beside a bright moon. Then she left without looking back. Yu Tianheng watched her go, stunned. He, one of the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon Clan's top geniuses, couldn't beat Tian Yao, and she compared herself to Ye Shi like a firefly to the moon. What did that make him? He retreated to his own room. Du Guyan was waiting as he stepped inside. Tianheng, are you all right? She asked, concern in her eyes as she took him in. Yu patted his chest. What could be wrong? I lost, but the gap wasn't large. I'll win next time. Du Guyan smiled, sitting down. He met her gaze seriously and asked, Yanzi, have you decided to leave Tiando Royal Academy? She nodded. Yes, I'm leaving the academy, but not Heavendo City. You can still find me there. He accepted it with a quiet nod. After checking the time, Du Guyan stood and said, It's late. I'm going home. She waved and left. Yu Tianheng went to the window and stared in the direction of Ye Shi's room, determination hardening his features. Next time, I will win. He left the VIP room. Yan now lifted a drink and smiled at Ye Shi. Second miss, Yu Tianheng is very strong. Ye Shi returned the smile calmly. Yes, but compared to me, he still falls short. Chapter 44, I might be able to help. A smile bloomed on Ye Shi's delicate face. Sister Tian Yao, you're hurt too. Let's go back to the mansion and find a healing spirit master to tend to you. As she spoke, Ye Shi's gaze kept assessing Tian Yao's injuries. Second miss, there's no need to hurry back to the mansion just for that. You don't need a healing spirit master. I only have some surface wounds, Tian Yao said, patting her chest to show she was fine. Really, there's no need. We're not short on money, Ye Shi said, standing and preparing to leave the private room. It's better to have a healing spirit master on hand. A voice came from the doorway before she could step out. Are you looking for a healing spirit master? Perhaps I can help. A woman in a white dress stood framed in the doorway, and beside her was a resolute, broad-shouldered, middle-aged man. Ling Yuan rose from her seat, stepping protectively in front of Ye Shi and Tian Yao. Her gaze was steady on the newcomers. Your Excellency Ye Qingshui, please don't misunderstand. We mean no offense. My name is Ye Qingshui of the Nine-Heart Begonia family. I am the current clan chief, the woman said with a brief bow. This is an elder of our family. Her eyes turned to Ye Shi behind Ling Yuan. Although Ling Yuan was a titled Douluo, Ye Qingshui seemed to know that the real decision-maker in the group sat behind her. Clan Chief Ye, what brings you here? Ye Shi motioned for them to enter and took her seat again. Ling Yuan stayed beside her, glancing occasionally at the elder. It's not anything urgent. I noticed this young lady has some injuries. I can treat them. Ye Qingshui stepped into the room. Her spirit, 9-heart begonia, appeared in her hand, and 7 spirit rings, 2 yellow, 2 purple, and 3 black, glimmered beneath her feet. As her first spirit ring pulsed, a gentle beam of light washed over Tianyao and instantly restored her wounds to their original state. Tianyao blinked, feeling the pain vanish, and turned to Ye Qingshui. Thank you, Clan Chief Ye. After expressing her gratitude, she sat quietly beside Ye Shi. Ye Qingshui gave a mild smile, withdrew her spirit, and sat opposite Ye Shi. Clan Chief Ye, thank you for allowing me to help, but what brings you here today? She asked. Ye Shi gestured for her to speak. Young Miss Ye Shi, I've come to discuss a possible alliance, Ye Qingshui said, then waited, studying Ye Shi's expression. A flicker of surprise crossed Ye Shi's azure eyes at the offer, but she quickly regained her composure and listened intently. Our family's legacy spirit, 9-heart begonia, is an exceptionally powerful auxiliary spirit, Ye Qingshui continued, her voice steady. As long as there is still a breath of qi, it can restore injuries to their original state. However, there is a fatal flaw. Only one spirit master with 9-heart begonia can appear in each generation. My daughter, Ye Lingling, is the next clan chief. I wish to find a battle spirit master to ensure her safety in the future. She hesitated, then added, Originally, I intended to place her under Yu Tianheng of the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon Clan, but a few days ago, Ye Lingling returned home and told me about you. After investigating, I saw enormous potential in you. I intend to have my daughter follow you, and for the 9-heart begonia family to form a cooperative partnership with you, offering whatever assistance is necessary. Ye Qingshui fell silent and watched Ye Shi for a response. Ye Shi didn't answer immediately. She tapped her fingers lightly on the table and thought for a moment. Why would you abandon the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon Clan, one of the upper 3 sects, and choose me? She asked. Potential alone doesn't seem like enough reason. Ye Qingshui raised 3 fingers and spoke calmly. First, your own potential. With the talent you've shown, barring misfortune, you should reach title Douluo soon. Second, you have a title Douluo protecting you, centered on you, which suggests a powerful force may stand behind you, perhaps a hidden sect. Third, the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon Clan is in decline. Yuan's and the current clan chief means well but lacks the ability. The force behind you may be no weaker than theirs. Taking all that into account, I believe you are a better choice than Yu Tianheng. She stated it plainly, as if reciting facts. A collaboration is possible, but I have conditions. Ye Shi inclined her head. Speak. Ye Qingshui leaned forward, earnest. In time, I will establish a force of my own. I hope the 9-heart begonia family can join it. Our relationship would not be one of subordination, but of equal cooperation. Ye Shi poured a drink and passed it over to her. And within that force, there will naturally be ranks. What treatment will the 9-heart begonia family receive? Ye Qingshui asked. She took a sip of the drink, but kept her eyes fixed on Ye Shi's, as if trying to discern something unspoken. We won't be vassals under any power, Ye Qingshui continued after a moment of consideration. But if this is truly an equal partnership, joining is acceptable. Once we join, your force would be primary and the 9-heart begonia family secondary. What guarantees of treatment can you offer to my family? Ye Shi listened without interruption, meeting Ye Qingshui's gaze calmly. Ye Qingshui's expression softened into thoughtfulness as she awaited Ye Shi's reply, still studying those azure eyes as though seeking the hidden truth behind them. Chapter 45, Reaching Cooperation. A faint smile touched Ye Shi's lips as she listened to Ye Qingshui's proposal. Patriarch Ye, if your 9-heart begonia family joins the organization I'm forming, your status will be second only to mine. All other do, everything else will be the best I can offer. Patriarch Ye, what do you think? Ye Qingshui asked. Ye Shi folded her hands, her sapphire blue eyes steady and serious. If that's the case, then there's no problem. Ye Qingshui nodded, then shifted the topic. There's one more thing I'd like to ask. If it's inconvenient, you don't have to answer. Although she smiled, a trace of gravity touched her gaze. Patriarch Ye, feel free to ask. If possible, I'll tell you. Ye Shi sat forward, attentive. To set up a sect, the initial capital and resources are hardly small, so I'd like to know, is the force backing you the reclusive sect you came from, or some other power? Her voice grew a shade more solemn. After asking, she waited for Yeshi's reply. It's nothing I can't say, Yeshi answered easily. I have a good relationship with the crown prince. The Heaven Do royal family is backing me. A pleased curve appeared at the corner of Yeqing's mouth. So it's the Heaven Do royal family. She didn't look overly surprised. She already had an inkling why the royal family would invest so heavily in Yeshi, either because of Yeshi's own potential or because of the strength behind her. Our Nine-Heart Begonia family is willing to join the organization you're establishing and cooperate with you, Ye Qingshui said earnestly. If you need anything, come to the Nine-Heart Begonia family. We will give full support. Then I welcome Patriarch Ye to join us, she added. I can assure you that joining is the right choice. A warm smile lit Yeshi's face, brightening her sapphire eyes. I agree. There are still some family matters I need to attend to. I'll be going back for now, Ye Qingshui said. Tomorrow I'll bring my daughter to pay a visit. She stood and offered a polite smile. Very well. I look forward to Patriarch Ye's esteemed presence. Yeshi rose as well and watched Ye Qingshui leave. Only after the other woman had stepped out of the private room did Yeshi stretch and turn to Tian Yao and Elder Ling Yuan. Sister Tian Yao, Elder Ling Yuan, let's head back. I didn't expect such a pleasant surprise today, Tian Yao said as she rose, and the three left the VIP room together. The Nine-Heart Begonia family joining us is a huge boon. Ling Yuan followed quietly behind them. They exited the Heaven Do Great Spirit Arena and made their way to the mansion. At the gate, Yeshi reached out and knocked. The door opened from within, and Zhong Meng appeared. She looked entirely different from the auction house memory, neater, better dressed. Not bad, Yeshi murmured, unconsciously nodding. Zhong Meng wore a white dress that made her seem delicate and refined. She looked far better than before. You probably haven't eaten, have you? I made some dishes. I don't know whether they'll suit your taste, Zhong Meng said, stepping aside to let them in. We haven't eaten yet, Yeshi replied. I'd like to try your cooking. They entered and found the courtyard spotless. Zhong Meng had cleaned everything thoroughly. She kept glancing at Yeshi and the others, anxious for approval. Zhong Meng, you did a great job cleaning the mansion, Yeshi praised. That's my duty as your servant, young miss, Zhong Meng said, and a brilliant smile broke over her face when Yeshi complimented her. In the dining room, a wooden table was laid out with several dishes. The aroma was inviting. Yeshi, Tian Yao, and Elder Ling Yuan took their seats. After sampling a bite, Yeshi looked at Zhong Meng standing nearby. This tastes very good. You should sit and eat with us. There aren't many people in the mansion right now, and it's not so formal, Yeshi urged, waving her over. Zhong Meng hesitated. Young miss, there is a distinction between master and servant. A maid shouldn't eat with her mistress. She shook her head gently, steadfast in her role. She was content with her place. She had food and lodging, and Yeshi treated her kindly. All right, Yeshi conceded when she saw Zhong Meng wasn't inclined to join them. But your cooking is excellent, just a bit too little. Tian Yao praised her, then eyed the portions. This isn't enough for me. Zhong Meng blinked in surprise. She'd prepared food meant for 5 or 6 people, but wasn't sure how much Tian Yao would eat. For Sister Tian Yao, perhaps it is a little short. You can make more next time, Yeshi said gently, putting down her chopsticks. Zhong Meng, if there's anything else you can make, tell me and I'll have it prepared. No need to trouble yourself, Zhong Meng replied earnestly. 7/10 full is fine. Tian Yao rubbed her stomach and stood. We'll go back to our rooms now. Zhong Meng, after you clear this up, go rest in your room, Yeshi said. Yes, young miss, Zhong Meng answered, and then busied herself clearing the table as the others left the dining room. Chapter 46, Qian Daoliu Royal Academy. Late at night, Qian Daoliu Royal Academy. In a luxuriously furnished room, Yu Tianheng sat by the window, watching the scattered stars. It still feels strange that Yanzi suddenly left Qian Daoliu Royal Academy, he murmured, a touch of melancholy in his voice. A soft knock sounded at the door. Come in. He turned as the door opened, and Ye Lingling stepped inside. Lingling, is there something you need at this hour? Yu Tianheng asked quietly. I'm leaving Qian Daoliu Royal Academy, she said plainly. You're leaving too? Yu Tianheng's surprise showed on his face. Earlier that day, Du Guyan had told him she was leaving. Now Ye Lingling stood before him with the same news. Yes, she answered. It's my family's arrangement, Ye Lingling added, but it's also my own choice. Yu Tianheng frowned and fell silent for a moment, thinking. He couldn't help but wonder if the two departures were connected. At last, he asked cautiously, Lingling, is your decision because of that, Ye Shi? He already suspected the answer. Two sudden departures would otherwise be too much of a coincidence. Yes, Ye Lingling replied simply. It's because of Ye Shi. Yu Tianheng forced a bitter smile and didn't try to dissuade her. If you've decided, then you should go, he said. Ye Lingling nodded and left without another word, heading for the Nine-Heart Begonia family's residence. When she was gone, Yu Tianheng leaned back, hands behind his head, deep in thought. Yanzi and Lingling are both gone. The Tiando Royal Battle Team now lacks a controller and a support spirit master. We'll have to find two suitable replacements from the academy. He stood and walked out of the room, lost in plans and concerns. The next morning, Ye Shi was meditating on her bed when a knock interrupted her. Zhang Meng's leisurely voice floated through the door. Young miss, there are guests at the residence. Young Miss Tian Yao asked me to invite you over. All right, Ye Shi replied, rising and straightening her robe. She opened the door. Zhang Meng bowed respectfully. Zhang Meng, prepare some pastries and drinks to entertain our guests, Ye Shi instructed as she passed. Zhang Meng immediately went to fetch refreshments. Ye Shi walked into the main hall to find Tian Yao, Ling Yuan, Ye Qingshui, and Ye Ling already seated and waiting. Sorry to have kept you, Ye Shi said, taking a seat opposite Ye Qingshui. We only arrived a little while ago, Ye Qingshui replied. She pointed to the girl beside her. This is my daughter, Ye Lingling. She's a level 23 spirit grandmaster. Hello, I'm Ye Shi. Ye Shi introduced herself with a warm smile. You can call me Xiao Shi. Ye Lingling's voice was cool and clear. Hello, her gaze appraised Ye Shi as if taking measure of her. The two studied each other with quiet curiosity. Their first meeting, so both were attentive. My daughter is rather reserved and keeps to herself, Ye Qingshui said with an apologetic smile. Please bear with her. Xiaoxi and I already discussed this yesterday, Ye Qingshui continued. From now on, Lingling will stay by Xiaoxi's side. Ye Lingling rose and stepped to stand before Ye Shi. Please take care of me, she said, voice still cool but tinged with curiosity. There's no need to be so formal. Ye Shi motioned for her to sit. At that moment, Zhang Meng returned, carrying a tray of pastries and drinks. She set them down quietly and retreated. This residence is fairly new, Ye Shi said, offering a pastry to Tian Yao. Zhang Meng is our only maid, so things can be a little quiet. There's no lack of hospitality, replied, taking the pastry. But since your house has so many empty rooms, why not let Lingling move in with you? Ye Qingshui smiled faintly, taking a sip of her drink. That would be most practical. If Lingling agrees, she can choose any room. Ye Lingling didn't hesitate. Okay. Sister Tian Yao, please take Lingling to pick a room, Ye Qingshui said. All right. Tian Yao stood, invited Ye Lingling with a gesture, and led her out. As the two left, Ye Qingshui's lips curved into a soft smile. You don't need to keep calling me family head Ye, she said to Ye Shi as she relaxed into her seat. If you don't mind, call me Aunt Ye. Aunt Ye, I wouldn't object, Ye Shi replied easily, clasping her hands and using the familiar form of address naturally. If there's anything you need, don't hesitate to ask, Ye Qingshui added sincerely. Our Nine-Heart Begonia family may not be as strong as the family that supports you, but we can still be of help in many ways. Chapter 47. The arrival of Duguyan Ye Shi calmly picked up a pastry and took a bite. If I need Aunt Ye's help with anything, I won't be polite about it, Aunt Ye. No sooner had she spoken than Zhang Meng entered the main hall, walked straight to Ye Shi's side, and leaned in to whisper something they alone could hear. Young miss, there are two people outside, an old one and a young one. They should know you. Should I invite them in? Zhang Meng kept her voice low, her eyes flicking toward Ye Qingshui. An old one and a young one? Ye Shi murmured as if recalling something, then waved a hand without much interest. Invite them in. They're on our side. Her voice was casual. Ye Shi didn't have many acquaintances in Heaven Do City, and the description fit only Dugu Bo and Dugu Yan. Zhongmeng bowed and left. A short while later, she led Dugubo and Dugu Yan into the main hall. "Senior, I apologize for not coming out to greet you," Zhongmeng said. "Please forgive me." Ye Shi rose and answered politely. "No need for that, Xiao Shi. I don't fuss over such things." Dugubo sat down beside Dugu Yan and cast a quick, appraising look at Ye Qingshui. As head of the Nine-Heart Begonia family, he knew Ye Qingshui, though they weren't particularly close. "Xiao Shi, since you have matters to discuss with the senior poison Douluo, I won't bother you any longer. Be sure to visit the Nine-Heart Begonia family when you have time." Ye Qingshui stood, smiled gently at Ye Shi, and moved toward the hall's exit. "Aunt Ye, shall I see you out?" Ye Shi started to follow, but Ye Qingshui shook her head. "No trouble. I'll go see Lingling first, say a few words, then return to the family." With that, she left. As Ye Qingshui departed, Ye Shi sat down again and turned her attention to Dugubo and Dugu Yan. "Senior, are you here about the detoxification?" Her tone was warm and light, a faint smile on her lips. "It's not about detoxification," Dugubo replied. "My granddaughter, Dugu Yan, wants to cultivate under you, so I came to see if it would be convenient. If it's not convenient, just say so." A smile creased Dugubo's older face. "Since you've already said it, how could it be inconvenient for me? It so happens Ye Lingling is staying at my residence right now. They know each other." Ye Shi nodded without hesitation. "Ye Lingling is here as well?" Dugu Yan's eyes showed surprise. "Yes, Aunt Ye brought her over not long ago." "Then I'll go see Lingling." Ye Shi rose, and Dugu Yan stood as well and left the main hall. Dugubo simply smiled and shook his head. "If you have nothing planned this afternoon, I could have you detoxified here," Ye Shi offered, turning to Dugubo. "Very well. I have no plans this afternoon." Dugubo agreed readily. Ye Shi took the necessary tools from her storage bracelet and performed the second detoxification. When she finished, Dugubo gave Dugu Yan a few instructions, then left Ye Shi's residence for his own courtyard. With Dugu Yan and Ye Lingling present, the once quiet residence grew lively. For several days, the group fell into a routine. Dohun competitions at the Heaven-Do Great Spirit Arena by day, shopping in Heaven-Do City during free time, and cultivation at the residence in the evenings. Meanwhile, in the Starluo Empire, Longxing City, Yang Wushuang, after traveling for over a month, made his way to the Breaking Clan's entrance and paused to study it quietly. "Who are you?" "Don't." The disciple at the gate stopped when he saw Yang Wushuang's face, disbelief written across his features. You're the second family head? You don't recognize me?" Yang Wushuang asked, a rare smile touching his lips. "Second family head, weren't you captured by Spirit Hall? How did you suddenly—" The disciple trailed off as realization dawned on him. "Is my elder brother here?" Yang Wushuang waved him on and walked into the compound. "Yes, he is. I'll tell the family head right away." The disciple ran inside. Yang Wudi, the family head, came bursting from his room when he heard the news. "Wushuang, you're finally back. You've suffered at Spirit Hall all these years." He wrapped his arms around Yang Wushuang in a fierce hug. "Big brother." Yang Wushuang's eyes shone with emotion. "Let's talk inside." Yang Wudi pulled him into the main hall, and they sat. "Wushuang, tell me, how did you escape Spirit Hall?" Yang Wudi patted his shoulder, smiling. "This is a long story." Yang Wushuang sighed and began to tell it, the version Ye Shi had shaped for him. When he finished, Yang Wudi's eyes were wet. He poured a cup of tea for Yang Wushuang. "By what you've said, Ye Shi truly saved your life. Don't worry, the Breaking Clan will remember this favor. If she ever needs help, we will not refuse." Yang Wudi's hand rested on Yang Wushuang's shoulder, his voice earnest. "Actually, there's something important I want to discuss. Ye Shi plans to form a force and wants to invite the Breaking Clan to join, offering very generous terms," Yang Wushuang said, holding up 4 fingers and looking at Yang Wudi. Chapter 48, Big Brother, Where Are You Going? Yang Wudi listened as Yang Wushuang finished speaking and inclined his head slightly. "Wushuang, since she saved you, tell me her conditions first," he said. "If they're acceptable, I'll consider joining her." Yang Wushuang sat forward and spoke quietly. "The first condition is that our Breaking Clan be given the highest treatment." Yang Wudi only nodded, not yet responding. "The second," Wushuang continued, "is that Ye Shi possesses a Yuxiang Chiluo immortal treasure. If we join her, she will hand that treasure over to the Breaking Clan. At that, Yang Wudi's eyes widened and his breathing quickened. The third condition is a medicinal garden, Wu Shuang went on. Anything planted there grows 10 times, even 100 times, faster. If we join, that garden would belong to the Breaking Clan. And the fourth, Wu Shuang finished, is that Tang Hao can be killed. When Yang Wushuang finished listing the 4 conditions, he watched Yang Wudi closely. Yang Wudi's face darkened. He slammed his palm down on the fine mahogany table so hard it cracked and splintered. Then he stood up and strode toward the door. "Big brother, where are you going?" Yang Wushuang jumped up to follow. Yang Wudi didn't answer as he moved. "Gather the disciples of the Breaking Clan," he said over his shoulder. "I've decided to join her. From now on, our clan follows her lead." Wu Shuang hurriedly reached out and pulled him back into his seat. "Don't be so hasty. Sit down and listen. There are other things you need to know." Yang Wudi sat again, waiting. "Yishi didn't just invite the Breaking Clan," Wu Shuang said. "She also invited the Defense Clan. Even if the Defense Clan doesn't want to join, we still need to invite them and try to bring them into our forces. And she asked us to try to buy the Crystal Blood Dragon Ginseng from the Speed Clan at any price." Yang Wudi rubbed his chin. "I'm almost certain I can persuade Old Rhinoceros of the Defense Clan to join us," he said slowly. "Old Whitebird of the Speed Clan will be difficult. Their lives are already precarious. Old Whitebird has never wanted to sell that ginseng." Wu Shuang gave a small, indifferent shrug. "The letter from Yishi only asked me to try my best, not to absolutely guarantee a purchase. We'll see what happens." "Then rest at the family estate for a day," Yang Wudi decided. "I'll go to the Defense Clan first. As for Old Whitebird, I'll try my best." He rose and left the hall. Yang Wushuang followed, eager to take a look around the Breaking Clan after so many years away. Time moved on, and dusk fell. Yang Wushuang had just settled back in the hall, sipping tea, when a rough voice interrupted him. "Wushuang, Old Goat told me you've returned." He looked up to see Yang Wudi walking in, flanked by Nu Gao, the chief of the Defense Clan. "Long time no see, Old Rhinoceros," Nu Gao grunted. Wushuang smiled faintly. "It has been a long time." Nu Gao's expression turned serious as he sat down. "I heard about your matter. One thing, can Tang Hao really be killed?" His eyes were hard. He demanded a definitive answer. "It's true," Yang Wushuang replied without hesitation. "It's not a lie. Let's do it." At that, Nu Gao slammed his fist on the table, breaking it to pieces. "When do we leave? I'll take the Defense Clan and go with you." Yang Wushuang watched Nu Gao for a moment and then nodded. "I appreciate it. We'll set off in about half a month, at the latest a month. Give me time to make preparations." Nu Gao clapped Wushuang on the shoulder. "When you're ready, notify me. I'll get the Defense Clan ready." After Nu Gao left, Yang Wudi sat beside Yang Wushuang. "I've already sent someone to Old Whitebird," he said. "But don't get your hopes up. Old Whitebird is unlikely to sell the Crystal Blood Dragon Ginseng." Yang Wushuang considered that for a moment. "It's worth a try. If he sells, great. If not, we'll manage without it." Yang Wudi smiled, the tension easing from his face. "It's time for dinner. I've got a few bottles of good wine. Wushuang, let's enjoy ourselves tonight, brothers together." Wushuang returned the smile. "All right, let's have a proper drink." They stood and walked toward the dining hall together. Chapter 49, Bai He's News. Yang Wushuang followed Yang Wudi to the dining hall. Yang Wudi produced several bottles of fine wine, and the two brothers sat down to drink and reminisce about old times. They drank and ate for several rounds, and only after the last cup was finished did they stagger back to their rooms to sleep off the wine. For the next few days, they waited for word from the Speed Clan. It wasn't until the 9th day that a messenger arrived to bring news to the Breaking Clan. In the Great Hall, Yang Wudi read the letter and could not help but shake his head. "As I thought, Old Bai He refused. He had no intention of selling the Crystal Blood Dragon Ginseng," Yang Wudi added with a sigh. He handed the letter to Yang Wushuang. "Big brother, we should get ready to leave," Yang Wushuang said. "Let Old Rhinoceros know we're heading to Heaven Do City." Yang Wudi glanced at the letter and set it aside. "All right, Wushuang, take the family disciples and make preparations. We leave for Heaven Do City tomorrow." With that, Yang Wudi rose and walked out of the Great Hall toward the Defense Clan. Yang Wushuang went to rouse the family disciples. Early the next morning, Niu Gao, the chief of the defense clan, arrived at the breaking clan gate with his disciples. Soon after, Yang Wudi and Yang Wushuang led out the breaking clan's people. After brief greetings, the three leaders, Yang Wudi, Yang Wushuang, and Niu Gao, set off for Heaven Do City. 2 months of hard travel later, they finally saw the walls of Heaven Do City rise in the distance. Niu Gao looked up at the city with a hint of emotion. "If I remember right, Old Orangutan's strength clan is based here," he said. "Let's first arrange quarters for our clan disciples, then Wushuang can go see Ye Shi." Yang Wudi patted Niu Gao on the shoulder and, together with Yang Wushuang, strode into Heaven Do City. Niu Gao shadowed them without hesitation, and they made their way toward the district where the strength clan's mansion was located. Inside a luxurious estate, Ye Shi sat at a stone table, lazily eating fruit. "Xiaoxi, are you going to the Great Spirit Arena today to compete in the Dohun matches?" Du Guyan asked, coming to sit beside her. "You, Tian Yao, and Ye Lingling should go." "I won't," Ye Shi said with a faint wave of her hand, uninterested. In the past 2 months, she had racked up an impressive streak, 172 consecutive victories in the Dohun Arena, and her Dohun badge had long since reached the advanced tier. She had little reason to bother with the arena now. Du Guyan laughed. "The people running the Great Spirit Arena must dread seeing you show up. Every match you enter is a big loss for them." "Go find Tian Yao and Ye Lingling then," Ye Shi said. "They'll want to go. Do you want Ling Yuan to come with you?" "No need," Du Guyan replied, taking a fruit Ye Shi handed her. She bit into it and immediately made a face. The fruit was puckeringly sour. Eyeing Ye Shi's innocent expression, Du Guyan rose and left for Tian Yao and Ye Lingling without comment. "Black sesame tangyuan," she muttered to herself as she walked, harmless on the surface, but full of tricks inside. The metaphor about Ye Shi fit all too well. After a short while, Du Guyan returned with Tian Yao and Ye Lingling. They exchanged greetings with Ye Shi and then left the mansion for the Great Spirit Arena. Not long after, Zhang Meng, the maid, approached Ye Shi. "Young miss, visitors are waiting outside," she said respectfully. They claimed to be the clan chiefs from the Breaking Clan and the Defense Clan. A smile lit Ye Shi's sapphire blue eyes. "Yang Wushuang finally brought them," she said. "Zhang Meng, prepare some fine tea. I'll go to the entrance to greet them myself." At the gate, Ye Shi immediately saw Yang Wudi, Yang Wushuang, and Niu Gao standing together. Yang Wushuang bowed first, then introduced them. "This is my big brother, Yang Wudi, and this is the Defense Clan chief, Niu Gao." "Junior Ye Shi greets you, seniors," Ye Shi said with a small, polite bow. "No need for formalities," Yang Wudi replied with a smile. "Wushuang told us everything. Old Rhinoceros and I have come to cooperate with you, but we must be clear. The conditions you offered must be fulfilled, one by one." Ye Shi met his gaze calmly. "You can rest assured, if I made those promises, I intend to keep them." She stepped aside to invite them in. "Please come inside. We can discuss the details." Under Ye Shi's guidance, the three men entered the mansion. As they walked along the winding paths of the estate, Yang Wudi and Niu Gao kept their eyes sweeping over the surroundings, taking everything in. Chapter 50, Yuxiang Qiluo, Immortal Treasure. Ye Shi led them into the mansion's great hall and took a seat. Zhongmeng prepared tea and set it before Yang Wudi and the others. "Young miss, aren't you going to talk about it? You said that if our breaking clan joins your faction, you'd give us the Yuxiang Qiluo Immortal Treasure and a medicinal garden," Yang Wudi said after taking a sip. "Where is the Yuxiang Qiluo Immortal Treasure? Where's the medicinal garden?" "Senior Yang, don't rush," Ye Shi replied calmly. "If you're making an offer, you wouldn't go back on it," Yang Wudi said. Ye Shi drew the Yuxiang Qiluo Immortal Treasure from her storage bracelet and held it in her palm, spirit power cradling it. "Yuxiang Qiluo Immortal Treasure," she said softly. "It really is the Yuxiang Qiluo Immortal Treasure," murmured someone else. "If I could get that treasure, I'd die for it," Yang Wudi blurted, standing and moving right in front of her to inspect the treasure carefully. He reached out as if to touch it, then stopped. "I said, as long as you're willing to join, this treasure will be yours." With a small smile, Ye Shi handed the treasure into Yang Wudi's hands. "As for the medicinal garden I mentioned, it's not at my mansion. I can take you to see it when there's time. No rush." Yang Wudi took the Yuxiang Qiluo Immortal Treasure with both hands. eyes shining. Yang Wushuang watched his brother's excitement and touched his forehead, but thinking of what the treasure would mean for the Breaking Clan, he relaxed and cleared his throat. Cough, cough. Young miss, although I agree to join you, I have one question. You said you could kill Tang Hao. Why are you so confident? Nu Gao asked, sipping his tea slowly while keeping his gaze on Ye Shi. I currently have 2 titled Douluo and the support of the Heavendo royal family and the 9-heart Begonia family. That might not be enough on its own, but my elder sister also has 2 titled Douluo. Senior Nu Gao, are you satisfied with that answer? Ye Shi asked, tapping the armrest of her chair lightly. Surprise flashed across Nu Gao's face at her calm tone, but he composed himself. Satisfied. But our defense clan's treatment can't be worse than Old Goat's Breaking Clan, he added. That's natural, Ye Shi said. Whether it's the Breaking Clan or the Defense Clan, I'll give you the highest standard I can. She looked up and spoke clearly, and I promise this. If anything happens in the future, I will die before any of you. I will not run ahead of you like the Clear Sky sect. The hall fell silent at that. Nu Gao studied her, and Yang Wudi put the treasure away and stared at her too, both trying to read the truth in her face. All they found was conviction. Let's not speak of the Clear Sky sect, Yang Wudi said, voice low. What I hate most in this life is the Clear Sky sect. Since we've decided to follow you, we trust you. We may not have many people now, but we'll do what we can, Nu Gao added, lifting his teacup. I heard the Defense Clan is skilled in architecture. I drew a blueprint myself. Could Senior Nu Gao take a look? If it's acceptable, we can build according to it, Ye Shi said, producing the blueprint from her storage bracelet and handing it to Nu Gao. Nu Gao examined the plans carefully, then compared them to the surrounding layout in his head. After a long look, he nodded. No problems with the blueprint. If possible, I'd like to see the site. Some things depend on the terrain. Of course, follow me, Ye Shi said, standing and leaving the hall. Yang Wudi, Yang Wushuang, and Nu Gao followed in silence. Just outside the hall, Ling Yuan fell into step beside Ye Shi, keeping watch. They walked for about 20 minutes and arrived at a large, empty plot of land. This is the site, Ye Shi said, pointing. Nu Gao took the blueprint out again, compared it to the land, and surveyed the surroundings. Building here won't be a problem, he concluded. Leave the construction to our defense clan. It should be completed in about half a year. He handed the blueprint back. I'll take care of it. Ye Shi smiled brilliantly. What's so troublesome about it? Have you prepared the construction materials? Nu Gao asked, still looking around. If not, after our defense clan rests a few days, we can prepare them, Ye Shi offered. Nu Gao waved a hand. The materials are already prepared and are stored with the Heavendo royal family. Your defense clan can rest first. I'll ask the royal family's people to move the materials here. Ye Shi paused, then nodded. That would be helpful. Chapter 51, Initial Establishment of Frost Snow Pavilion. Nu Gao nodded slightly. Then, as if remembering something, he turned to Ye Shi. If we're going to form a power, it needs a name. What should we call it? Yang Wudi and Yang Wushuang both agreed and looked to Ye Shi. Frost Snow Pavilion, she said calmly, meeting their gazes. Frost Snow Pavilion? It's not a bad name. Yang Wudi repeated it once, then walked over to Nu Gao, stopped beside him, and slapped his shoulder. Old Rhinoceros, the founding of Frost Snow Pavilion is in your hands now. There was a hint of feeling in Yang Wudi's voice as he looked at Ye Shi standing before them. Leave it to our defense clan. When it comes to construction, if our defense clan ranks second, nobody else will dare claim to be first. Nu Gao patted his chest, his voice solid. Pavilion Master, have the disciples from our 2 families already settled in? If not, I can help arrange it, Ye Shi asked them. The disciples were settled before we came, Yang Wudi answered. Now all we need is Old Rhinoceros to build the pavilion. Yang Wudi's calling her Pavilion Master sounded perfectly natural. He had already agreed to join Ye Shi's power, so the title made no difference. Our defense clan will rest a few days. Once the building materials arrive, we can begin. Nu Gao glanced at Yang Wudi and spoke softly. All right, I'll go to Tiando Royal Palace and ask His Highness the Crown Prince to send the materials. Both of you should go back and rest. I'll prepare a banquet this evening to welcome the disciples of both clans. Ye Shi smiled politely. There's no need to trouble yourself. Ye Shi added, but Yang Wudi and Nu Gao exchanged looks and promptly waved their hands, smiles on their faces. Since you have matters to attend to, Pavilion Master, we'll head back and rest first. With that, Yang Wudi, Yang Wushuang, and Nu Gao turned and walked off. Ye Shi watched them go, then set off for Tiando Royal Palace. Ling Yuan, I need you to handle something, she said as they walked. Book the finest restaurant in Heavendo City for 3 days. We'll host the members of the Breaking Clan and the Defense Clan, and invite Dugu Bo and family head Ye of the Nine-Heart Begonia family to join us tonight. Yes, young miss. Ling Yuan agreed and immediately went to secure the best restaurant. Ye Shi continued on to Tiando Royal Palace alone. The palace guards, recognizing her, stepped aside and allowed her straight passage to the Crown Prince's hall. Inside, Shui Qinghe sat in the main seat, engrossed in a book. Xiao Shi, you're here. He closed the book, gestured casually to the seat beside him, and invited her to sit. What brings you? Ye Shi sat and poured some tea. I came to discuss a few matters. The large palace doors slowly closed with a snap at Shui Qinghe's motion. Once they were sealed, a faint golden spirit power gathered in his hand. With a gentle wave across his face, he shifted into the appearance of Qian Renshui. Yang Wushuang has returned, he said. The Breaking Clan and the Defense Clan have agreed to join your Frost Snow Pavilion. All that remains are the building materials. Arrange to have them sent and Frost Snow Pavilion can officially be established. Ye Shi set down her cup, her face radiant. I'll have someone send them over tomorrow. Qian Renshui, Shui Qinghe in disguise, lightly stroked Ye Shi's hair and asked with cool composure. Elder sister, I've prepared a banquet tonight to receive the high-ranking members of the new pavilion and to welcome the Breaking and Defense clans. Will you attend? Of course, Ye Shi said softly. It's our own power. I should at least make an appearance. Qian Renshui nodded without hesitation. Then we'll go together. They exchanged a smile. Xiao Shi, once Frost Snow Pavilion is established, you will be its pavilion master. Qian Renshui placed a hand on Ye Shi's shoulder and appraised her thoughtfully. You should dress more formally from now on, less casual. Am I not formal enough now? Ye Shi asked, looking down at her attire. It's not wrong, just a little plain, Qian Renshui said. When we return to the mansion, change into something else. That silver palace gown would be perfect. Qian Renshui considered for a moment, then nodded seriously. All right, change when we get back. Ye Shi agreed readily, and the two sisters chatted with quiet smiles as time passed. At last, the palace doors opened and Ling Yuan appeared at the entrance. Young miss, everything's been arranged. Ling Yuan bowed to Qian Renshui before reporting to Ye Shi. Very well, let's return to the mansion. Ye Shi rose. Elder sister, I'll go back to the mansion and wait for you. Qian Renshui stretched and stood. You two go ahead. I'll handle a few things here and join you shortly. A faint golden light gathered around Qian Renshui, and he shifted back into Shui Qinghe's true form. Ye Shi and Ling Yuan departed for the mansion, while Shui Qinghe strode from the palace to make the necessary arrangements and ensure nothing untoward occurred at Tiando Royal Palace in his absence. Chapter 52. Welcoming feast back at the mansion, Ye Shi spotted Du Guyan, Tian Yao, and Ye Lingling returning from the Heaven Do Great Spirit Arena and walked straight up to them. There's a banquet tonight. Dress formally, she said, voice steady. The Breaking Clan, the Defense Clan, the Nine-Heart Begonia family, and Senior Poison Douluo will all be there. Tian Yao, Du Guyan, and Ye Lingling blinked, then nodded together. We'll get ready. Wait a little longer, Ye Shi added. Once my sister arrives, we'll leave. She rested her arm on the stone table, propping her chin in her hand, and waited. Ling Yuan came up silently and stood behind her. About half an hour later, Ye Shi emerged first, wearing a silver palace gown with her silver hair pinned by a jade hairpin. Tian Yao, Du Guyan, and Ye Lingling arrived soon after and took their seats beside her. Young miss, when should we depart? Tian Yao asked. As soon as my sister arrives, Ye Shi repeated. They all waited without another word. Du Guyan and Ye Lingling already knew Ye Shi's sister from previous visits to the mansion. Before long, Qian Renshui and Shi Long appeared. Xiao Shi, let's go, Qian Renshui called from not far off. Ye Shi and the others walked to meet them, then headed for the pre-booked restaurant. At the restaurant entrance, Ye Shi saw Dugu Bo, Ye Qingshui, Yang Wudi, Yang Wushuang, Nu Gao, and several others standing quietly, waiting. "Sorry we're late," Ye Shi said. She introduced them. "This is my sister, Qian Renshui. Beside her is Shi Long." Qian Renshui smiled politely at Yang Wudi and Yu Gao. "Not late. We only just arrived ourselves." Yang Wudi waved it off, his eyes lingering appreciatively on Qian Renshui and then on Ye Shi. Ye Shi was pretty, but young. Qian Renshui had a mature, peerless beauty that drew attention. Inside, the first and second floors were already full of disciples from the breaking and defense clans. Ye Shi and her group were seated in a private room on the third floor. Ye Shi took the main seat, Qian Renshui sat beside her, and the others arranged themselves around the table. "I booked this place for 3 days," Ye Shi said, looking around the room. "First, to hold a welcoming feast for the people of the breaking and defense clans. Second, so the high-ranking members of our Frost Snow Pavilion can meet. You should all be familiar with one another by now, so I won't make long introductions," she added with a faint smile. Ye Qingshe folded her hands and fixed Ye Shi with an inquisitive look. "I heard Clan Chief Niu Gao say the Pavilion Master is preparing to establish the Frost Snow Pavilion. Our Nineheart Begonia family has craftsmen experienced in construction. If you need help, we can send them." Ye Shi inclined her head. "I've entrusted the establishment to Senior Niu. What do you think, Clan Chief Niu?" Niu Gao leaned back, serious. "More craftsmen will speed things up, but any workers we send should follow the defense clan's arrangements." "That's only natural," Ye Qingshe said at once, nodding. Qian Renshui touched Ye Shi's arm and blinked her pale golden eyes. Ye Shi understood. "I'm close with Crown Prince Shui Qinghe. If it will help, I can ask him to send some craftsmen as well." "That would be most welcome," Niu Gao replied, approval clear in his eyes. Outside help would ease the defense clan's burden, though they would still oversee quality. "Let's leave the serious matters for later," Ye Shi said, smiling. "Ling Yuan, ask the staff to start serving, and bring up all the restaurant's special fine wines. Make sure our seniors enjoy themselves." "Yes, young miss." Ling Yuan left to find the manager. Yang Wudi grinned and patted Niu Gao on the shoulder. "We'll be glad to celebrate. It's only right after the long journey your clan members made." Ye Shi waved him off modestly. Soon Ling Yuan returned with the restaurant staff. Wine and beverages were set out, and the kitchen began bringing specialty dishes one after another. Everyone picked up their chopsticks and began to taste. "The food here is excellent," Yang Wudi declared after sampling a dish. He raised his wine glass to Niu Gao. Niu Gao lifted his in reply, and they clinked before drinking heartily. Ye Shi, Qian Renshui, and the others at her table sipped fruit juices and other non-alcoholic beverages, watching the gathering with composed smiles as conversation flowed and the welcoming feast continued. Chapter 53, Invitation from Master Ning. After 3 rounds of drinks and 5 courses, the banquet finally broke up. Ye Shi and the others left the private room and went their separate ways. As they walked down the busy street, Ye Shi wore a contented smile. Qian Renshui walked at her side, the rest trailing quietly behind. "You're in a good mood, Xiaoxi," Qian Renshui said, taking Ye Shi's hand gently. "Yes, very good." Ye Shi's sapphire eyes twinkled. "At 9 years old, to have built a force that can stand with the upper 3 sects, I might be the only one on the whole continent. Strength-wise, once the Frost Snow Pavilion is officially established, it will indeed be able to compete with the upper 3 sects," Qian Renshui said, smiling. "But in terms of foundation and connections, the pavilion is still rather shallow." She smiled kindly. Once the Frost Snow Pavilion was formalized, Qian Renshui could focus on affairs within the palace and let the pavilion handle matters outside, lightening her own burden. "You must take it one step at a time. Foundations are built slowly, and connections grow after the pavilion is established." "Sister, will you be going home tonight, or will you cultivate at my residence?" Ye Shi asked. "I won't go back," Qian Renshui decided after a moment. "I'll stay at your place." They returned to the residence and went to their rooms. There were many vacant chambers, so Qian Renshui and Shi Long found 2 and settled in. At dawn the next morning, Qian Renshui, disguised as Shui Qinghe, took Shi Long back to the Tiando Royal Palace. Assuming the identity of Shui Qinghe, she immediately began ordering laborers to deliver construction materials to Ye Shi and sent artisans from the palace to assist with establishing the Frost Snow Pavilion. After giving his instructions, Shui Qinghe returned to the crown prince's quarters to rest. Not long after he sat down, a guard announced from the palace entrance, "Your Highness the Crown Prince, Schoolmaster Ning has arrived." Shui Qing set down his teacup and went out. Outside, he found Ning Fengji smiling gently, with Bone Douluo Gurong standing behind him. "Teacher, what brings you here?" Shui Qinghe bowed respectfully. Ning Fengji rose to meet him and followed him into the hall. They sat in the main chamber while Gurong remained standing behind Ning. "Qinghe, I heard some things in Heaven Do City yesterday," Ning Fengji began as he poured tea for them. "Many spirit masters suddenly appeared there. From what I've learned, they were once affiliated with the Clear Sky sect. I came to confirm the situation with you." "Oh, so it's about that?" Shui Qinghe set his teacup down and replied calmly. "Those spirit masters did indeed transfer. Although they were formerly of the Clear Sky sect, they've now joined a new power, the Frost Snow Pavilion. That's why they came to Heaven Do City." "The Frost Snow Pavilion?" Ning Fengji's brow creased faintly. "I haven't heard of such a force in Heaven Do City." "That's understandable," Shui Qinghe said. "It's only just been established and hasn't been publicly announced yet." Ning Fengji considered this, then asked, "What kind of strength does the pavilion have?" "Right now, the Frost Snow Pavilion has 2 titled Douluo and 3 spirit Douluo," Shui Qinghe answered without holding back. Ning Fengji's expression stayed composed. "Who is the pavilion master?" "You should have heard of her. She's recently gained some renown in Heaven Do City." Shui Qinghe's voice was even. Ning Fengji interrupted gently, speaking the name almost as a certainty. "Yeshi?" "That's right, Yeshi," Shui Qinghe confirmed with a nod. "Young as she is, she's been able to gather a formidable force." Ning Fengji's smile was like a spring breeze. "Qinghe, could you introduce me? I would like to invite her to be a guest at the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School." "Of course." Shui Qinghe returned the smile. "When would you like to do it?" "Tomorrow," Ning said simply. "If it's not too much trouble, could you arrange it?" Shui Qinghe waved it off. "No trouble at all. I'll go see Yeshi and tell her." There were still matters to attend to at the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School, Ning added, so he stood. "Then we'll return. Let me see you out." Shui Qinghe rose and accompanied Ning Fengji to the palace entrance. When Ning left and his figure receded into the distance, Shui Qinghe's eyes narrowed slightly. "What is that old fox Ning Fengji plotting now?" he thought. "I'll have to warn Xiaoxi to be careful around him." With that, Shui Qinghe turned and walked straight back into his palace. Chapter 54, 7 Treasures Glazed Sect. Walking back to the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School, Ning Fengji's eyes held a trace of thoughtfulness. Gurong, walking beside him, noticed and asked, "Fengji, won't the establishment of the Frost Snow Pavilion affect our plans?" "There will definitely be an impact," Ning Fengji replied. "Our 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School and the Heaven Do royal family have always supported each other, but now there's an extra Frost Snow Pavilion in the mix that can only complicate things." He paused, thinking. "From what we learned yesterday, the Heaven Do royal family will give very strong backing to the Frost Snow Pavilion, and Ye Shi, who founded the pavilion, is not ordinary. If I'm not mistaken, Death God, who rose to fame in the Heaven Do Great Spirit Arena, was an alias she used. Talented and strategic, such a person is truly a heaven-blessed genius." Ning Fengji clasped his hands behind his back, his voice carrying a hint of emotion. "Fengji, could someone like her be brought into our 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School?" Gurong's voice dropped low. "Almost impossible. Once the Frost Snow Pavilion is officially recognized, with the Heaven Do royal family's support, Yeishi's status will be essentially equal to the sect masters of the upper 3 sects. It's not likely she could be recruited by us." Ning Fengji shook his head slightly and spoke decisively. "A heaven-blessed genius still needs time to grow. If she hasn't matured, she's only empty fame. We shouldn't." Gurong didn't let him finish, understanding instantly. "No. Don't bring it up again." Ning Fengji cut him off almost without thinking. "Dismiss the idea." Gurong fell silent and followed Ning Fengji back to the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School. Meanwhile, at Yeishi's mansion, a carriage bearing the Heaven Do royal family's emblem drew up, and Shui Qinghe stepped out and walked straight inside. Yeshi was in the main hall, chatting and eating pastries with Tianyao, Du Guyan, and the others. She hurried forward to greet him. Shui Qingye, why are you here? She asked, curious. Shui Qingye smiled gently but gave Ye Shi a meaningful look. Ye Shi understood at once and gestured for him to follow. Please come with me. She led Shui Qingye to her private room. Once the door was closed, Ye Shi sat in front of him. Sister, did something happen? Ye Shi took a breath and grew serious. Nothing urgent happened, but not long ago Ning Fengji from the Seven Treasure Glazed Tile School came by asking about you. He invited you to visit the school tomorrow. I came to warn you not to be tricked by that old fox. As she spoke, Shui Qingye smiled and with a casual wave shifted his appearance into that of Qian Renshui. Ye Shi's fingers tapped the table as she considered the news. Qian Renshui remained quietly thoughtful beside her. After a moment of contemplation, both concluded that a visit to the Seven Treasure Glazed Tile School was unlikely to be dangerous. Sister, I think Ning Fengji probably wants to win you over with this invitation, Ye Shi said. There shouldn't be any real danger. I agree, Qian Renshui said. Before he discovers your background, Ning Fengji won't dare act recklessly. In that case, as long as I'm cautious tomorrow, it should be fine, Ye Shi said, visibly relaxing. You're the only one in Heaven Do City I'm a little worried about, Qian Renshui added, gently stroking Ye Shi's silver hair. To be safe, I'll accompany you to the Seven Treasure Glazed Tile School tomorrow as Shui Qinghe. That way we can watch out for each other. Ye Shi nodded. All right, it's decided. I'll go with you. Qianrui stood, shifting back into Shui Qinghe's appearance. I'll return to the Heaven Do Royal Palace now and pick you up tomorrow morning. They rejoined the main hall, exchanged a few pleasantries, and Shui Qinghe left the mansion. Ye Shi sat down again as Duguyan set a plate of pastries before her. What did His Highness want to talk about? Duguyan asked softly. It was nothing major, Ye Shi replied, picking up a pastry. Schoolmaster Ning of the Seven Treasure Glazed Tile School invited me to visit the school. Shui Qinghe only relayed the message. I've heard my grandfather praise Ning Fengji's talent, Duguyan said. Yes, he's very capable. Otherwise, the Seven Treasure Glazed Tile School wouldn't be poised to become the #1 sect after the Clear Sky sect's reclusion. Tianyao moved closer, looping an arm around Ye Shi's shoulders. Do you want me to go with you? I've never been to the school either. No need, Ye Shi said decisively. I'll bring Elder Lingyuan. You stay at the mansion with Yan Yan and Lingling. That works. Tianyao nodded. All right, I'll go find Lingyuan. Ye Shi rose and headed toward Lingyuan's rooms with a few questions on her mind. Just as she reached the door and was about to knock, the door opened and Lingyuan appeared. Chapter 55, First Meeting with Ning Fengji. Lingyuan wore a faint smile, her eyes bright with a hint of joy. Young miss, she said, bowing slightly to Ye Shi. You seem very happy, Ye Shi remarked, curiosity sparking in her gaze as she studied Lingyuan's expression. Yes. Lingyuan's smile broadened. My spirit power just broke through to level 95. No, 96. I'm officially a peak Douluo at 96. She held out a palm, where a soft red glow of spirit power shimmered. Now that she had reached peak Douluo 96, she could feel how wide the gap was between 95 and 96. Then I must congratulate you, Ye Shi said warmly. Once we return to Spirit City, you could enter the Hall of Offerings and become their 8th priest. Lingyuan's body stiffened. She lowered herself into a slow, deliberate kneel and looked up at Ye Shi with steady eyes. Young miss, I once told you I would die for you. I will not join the Hall of Offerings as their 8th priest. When the time comes, I will explain it to the High Priest and stay by your side to protect you. Her voice was solemn and unwavering. Ye Shi was momentarily taken aback, then smiled and reached out to help Lingyuan to her feet. Lingyuan, I had some things I wanted to ask you, but now that your spirit power has reached 96, I think I understand enough. She began walking toward the main hall. Lingyuan followed a pace behind. What is it? Ye Shi asked. Please tell me first, Lingyuan replied softly. Ning Fengji of the Seven Treasure Glazed Tile School has invited me to be his guest tomorrow. It's probably nothing, but I wanted to ask, between you and Bone Douluo and Sword Douluo, who is stronger? Ye Shi clasped her hands behind her back and walked with light, confident steps. In terms of spirit power, I'm a little stronger than Bone Douluo. In a real fight, I should be able to defeat Bone Douluo Gurong. Against Sword Douluo Chen Xin, it's closer. If it were a short battle, I wouldn't lose easily, but my odds are maybe 4 to 6 or 3 to 7. Ling Yuan listened intently, seriousness in her eyes. Then if something happens, are you confident you could get me out of the 7-treasure glazed tile school? Ye Shi paused, then turned her head to regard Ling Yuan. If the goal is to escape, yes, that wouldn't be a big problem. Ling Yuan considered for a moment and then nodded. Then there's no problem. Tomorrow we will go there as guests. Ye Shi gave a light wave, signaling Ling Yuan to return and rest, then strode ahead. Ling Yuan obeyed and went back to her room. Early the next morning, Xinghei's carriage waited at the mansion gate. Ye Shi and Ling Yuan boarded, and the carriage set off for the 7-treasure glazed tile school. The journey was smooth. When the carriage drew up before the school's grand mountain gate, Ye Shi was the first to step down, taking in the imposing structure with a touch of emotion. "Let's go in," she said. Xinghei stepped out and patted Ye Shi's shoulder before leading the way up the path. Ye Shi followed quickly, Ling Yuan bringing up the rear at a more measured pace. Under Xinghei's guidance, they passed through the school's gates without delay and soon stood before the main hall. Ning Fengji, the sect master, waited quietly there, a gentle smile on his face. "Teacher," Xinghei greeted, bowing respectfully before introducing Ye Shi. "Teacher, this is Ye Shi. She will soon become the pavilion master of the Frost Snow Pavilion." Ning Fengji appraised Ye Shi with a careful glance. To have accomplished so much at such a young age, she truly is a favored daughter of heaven. His praise was sincere. Then, with a graceful gesture, he invited them into the hall. Inside, Ning Fengji was relaxed and approachable, without the stiff formality one might expect of a leader of the upper 3 sects. He personally poured tea for Xinghei, Ye Shi, and Ling Yuan. "This is our 7-treasure glazed tile school's own 7-treasure glazed tile tea. Please try it. If it doesn't suit your taste, tell me, and I'll arrange something else." Ye Shi sipped the tea, set her cup down, and looked to Ning Fengji. "Schoolmaster Ning, you invited us here as guests. Is there a particular reason?" Ning Fengji answered simply. "I heard from Qinghei that the Frost Snow Pavilion will be established in Heaven Do City, so I invited you to visit. There is nothing more to it." He added with sincerity, "If you need help during the establishment, tell me. If I can be of assistance, I will do my best." "Thank you, Schoolmaster Ning. At present, the Frost Snow Pavilion's establishment doesn't require assistance," Ye Shi replied courteously. Ning Fengji studied her, admiration in his voice. "I wonder what sort of school or family can cultivate such a favored daughter of heaven." Ye Shi smiled lightly and deflected him. "My elders have been living in seclusion for many years. There's not much to say." At once, Ning Fengji's gaze flicked toward Ling Yuan, standing behind Ye Shi, a faint look of thought crossing his face as he took in the attendant as well. After a moment, his eyes returned to their calm, warm expression. "Since that's the case, I won't pry." His tone remained amiable. "The one behind you must be Spirit Kite Douluo. Spirit Kite Douluo's strength, among the power supporting you, must be like a pillar. For your elders to have her protect you shows how much they value you." Ning Fengji sized up Spirit Kite as if asking casually. "Schoolmaster Ning is joking," Ye Shi replied lightly. "My talent isn't the best. My elder sister's is even greater. She lives in seclusion with our elders and rarely goes out," Ye Shi added. "Although Spirit Kite is powerful, there's still a gap compared to my elders." Ye Shi looked around the 7-treasure glazed tile school easily, answering Ning Fengji's questions as if they were casual conversation. She knew he was probing her background, so she blended truth and fiction, borrowing prestige by association. Ning Fengji listened, thoughtful. Seeing her age, he felt reassured. No matter how gifted, youth comes with inexperience. A few careful questions were natural. Xinghei, sitting to the side, winked at Ye Shi. Her answers were fine. With Ning Fengji's cautious nature, it was unlikely he would act rashly. A clear, pleasant voice floated in from outside the hall. "Papa." A girl Ye Shi's age in a white dress burst into the room, her delicate face framed by neat hair. An old man with a childlike complexion and a gentle smile followed her. "Rongrong, why are you here?" Ning Fengji laughed, scooping Ning Rongrong up and setting her on his lap. "Papa, can I come?" the girl protested, glancing around the hall. She recognized Shui Qinghe and fixed a measured look on Ye Shi, appraising her. Come on, Papa will introduce you. This is Ye Shi. She's about your age, but her talent is as rare as phoenix feathers across the continent. She'll soon lead a force comparable to our upper three sects, Ning Fengji said without holding back his praise. Ning Rongrong's eyes narrowed. Ning Fengji had never praised anyone like this, not even his little princess. She doesn't look any different, she murmured coolly. Spirit Kite, a peak Douluo, opened her mouth, but an intervening voice cut in. It's just a child's careless remark. No need to mind it. The old man, Chen Xin, called Grandpa Sword, lifted Ning Rongrong into his arms. Snuggling against him, she still shot Ye Shi a sideways glance. Spirit Kite, the young miss is young, don't take it to heart. Be accommodating. Ye Shi waved the remark off and picked up the 7 treasure glazed tile tea, savoring it slowly. Yes, young miss, she said politely. Spirit Kite straightened and fell silent behind Ye Shi. Ning Rongrong, however, was stung by Ye Shi's dismissal. Did Ye Shi mean the little princess wasn't worth minding? She glared, but Ye Shi met the look with an unfazed calm, like an old well. There was a quiet understanding in Ye Shi's gaze, exactly as you think. Before Ning Rongrong could retort, Ning Fengji's gentle voice smoothed the air. My daughter can be a bit spoiled, please forgive her. Ye Shi made a small dismissive motion, indicating she had not taken offense. Ning Rongrong snorted, but fell silent. Uncle Sword, take Rongrong outside to play. All right, Chen Xin agreed. Rongrong, Grandpa Sword will take you out. He carried her out, and as he passed Spirit Kite, he gave a quick, discreet assessment. From her faint chi, he could tell that Spirit Kite's spirit power rank was comparable to his own. When they had gone, Ning Fengji rose from his seat and shifted his attention to Ye Shi. Our 7 treasure glazed tile school's pastries are excellent, he offered with a smile. Paired with the tea, they're unique. Would you like to try some? No need to trouble yourself, Ye Shi replied. Schoolmaster Ning, I suddenly remembered I have matters to attend to. I'll be going back. I'll come again when I have time. Ning Fengji waved it off. We couldn't possibly send you away empty-handed. I'll have someone pack some 7 treasure glazed tile tea for you. Ye Shi accepted the courtesy and sat back down. Shenghe toyed with his teacup, watching. Soon a disciple brought 3 neatly packed portions of 7 treasure glazed tile tea, one for Ye Shi, one for Shui Qinghe, and one for Spirit Kite. They took the packages and left the hall with Ning Fengji seeing them off. At the school gates, Ning Fengji stood quietly, watching as they boarded the carriage. Teacher, we'll head back now, Shui Qinghe said, then climbed in after Ye Shi. The carriage rolled toward Heaven Do City. Ning Fengji said nothing more as the carriage pulled away. When it disappeared from sight, he turned and walked back into the 7 treasure glazed tile school. Chapter 57. Wait and See. Inside the carriage returning to Heaven Do City, Shui Qing leaned back with his hands clasped behind his head, watching the thoughtful Ye Shi. Xiao Shi, what do you make of our visit to the 7 treasure glazed tile school? He asked softly, a faint smile at his lips. I'm not certain what Ning Fengji is aiming for, Ye Shi replied, but his attitude was clearly friendly. Xingji nodded. Then for now, we should wait and see. Don't change our stance until we know his true intentions. Ye Shi looked at him, curious. I feel the same way. Since his motives are unclear, we should focus on developing ourselves. I'll keep handling palace affairs, and you should continue building up Frost Snow Pavilion. As for the 4th prince, I'll find a time to deal with him. Shui Qinghe's voice was calm, but his eyes flicked toward Prince Shui Xing's manor, a barely perceptible glint of killing intent passing through them. Frost Snow Pavilion will thrive. I'll draw on any forces I can. Ye Shi leaned against the carriage wall and closed her eyes to rest. Shui Qinghe followed suit, and for a time only the soft thud of the carriage wheels filled the air. Outside the city, Ning Fengji stood in a quiet courtyard, looking toward Heaven Do City. Uncle Sword, can you gauge the strength of that Spirit Kite venerable? He asked, his expression intense. Chen Xin's voice was steady as ever. His spirit power is probably comparable to yours. Ning Fengji, comparable to Uncle Sword? Chen Xin's calm assessment made Ning Fengji frown. It means the reclusive sect behind Ye Shi is stronger than we thought. Let's wait and see, Ning Fengji said quietly, and together they walked toward the main hall, neither speaking further. After the carriage reached Heavendo City, Shui Qinghe dropped Yeshi at her residence and returned to the Tiando Royal Palace. Yeshi immediately set about establishing Frost Snow Pavilion. With funding from the Heavendo royal family and craftsmen provided by both the royal family and the Nine-Heart Begonia family, the pavilion, expected to take half a year, was completed in roughly 4 months. Once Frost Snow Pavilion was founded, Yeshi assigned positions. She was the pavilion master. The 3 hall masters were Ye Qingshui of the Nine-Heart Begonia family, Yang Wudi of the Breaking Clan, and Niu Gao of the Defense Clan. Dugu Bo served as a guest elder, holding status equal to the 3 hall masters. Below them were supervisors and deacons. Spirit Kite never took a formal post, but she remained quietly at Yeshi's side. Wherever Yeshi went, Spirit Kite was never far away. Life moved on. The most shocking event in Heavendu City during this time was the sudden death of 4th Prince Shui Beng. Emperor Shuiye was deeply grieved. He sent Shui Qingyi to conduct a symbolic investigation, but the matter remained unresolved. With the royal family's backing, Frost Snow Pavilion expanded rapidly. Several smaller sects became its vassals. Time slipped by, and 3 years passed in quiet progress. Inside the grand hall of Frost Snow Pavilion, Ye Shi, now 12, sat in the main seat and listened to a deacon's report. Pavilion Master, a spirit saint named Shi Nian, is outside. He wishes to join Frost Snow Pavilion, the deacon said, kneeling respectfully. Bring him in, Yeshi replied, settling back more comfortably and propping her head on her hand, her silver hair cascading around her shoulders. The deacon bowed and left. Yeshi waited, observing the empty entry with her clear blue eyes. Over these 3 years, managing the pavilion had slowed Yeshi's personal advancement. Her spirit power had risen from rank 33 Spirit Elder to rank 44 Spirit Ancestor. Her 4th spirit ring was not a single 1,000-year ring, but a composite accumulated across ranks, totaling 14,000 years. Her 4th spirit ability, Angel's Roar, possessed devastating spiritual attack power. Soon the deacon returned with Shi Nian. Yeshi studied him closely. Shi Nian was a man in his 40s or 50s with a pair of eyes that carried a sinister edge. Seeing him, Yeshi recalled his past actions. Pavilion Master, Shi Nian greeted, bowing with an ingratiating respect. You wish to join Frost Snow Pavilion? Yeshi asked, watching him. Yes, Pavilion Master. I have long admired Frost Snow Pavilion. As soon as I had the chance, I came to pledge my allegiance, Shi Nian said humbly. Yeshi smiled faintly. Not long ago, a spirit bone was stolen halfway through its sale at the Heavendu auction house. I don't think you've admired us for long. You were finishing absorbing that spirit bone and came looking for protection, weren't you? Shi Nian's expression flickered, but he remained smooth. That is true, but I sincerely pledge allegiance now. I hope Pavilion Master will give me a chance. The hall fell silent as Ye Shi considered him. After a moment, she spoke. Don't worry about the auction house incident. I will handle it. You will be a supervisor in Frost Snow Pavilion, she continued. But you won't be based in Heavendo City. You'll go to Soto City. Shi Nian blinked in surprise, then bowed again. Thank you, Pavilion Master. He had expected a deacon's post, but a supervisor position, albeit assigned to Soto City, was more than he had hoped for. A smile of satisfaction spread across his face as he rose to his feet. Chapter 58, Gift of Herba Immortalis. Yeshi gave Shi Nian a small wave from the main seat, signaling that he could withdraw. He bowed once to her and left the hall. When the door closed behind him, Yeshi's fingers tapped the armrest in a slow, measured rhythm, and a thoughtful expression settled over her azure eyes. Lingyan, let's go to the Tiando Royal Palace, she said, rising from her seat. Yes, young miss. Lingyan fell into step behind her without a word. They left the Frost Snow Pavilion and headed straight for Tiando Royal Palace. As they walked through the busy streets, the hawkers calling out on either side, Yeshi felt a flicker of nostalgia. 3 years already since I came to Heavendo City, she murmured. You're still young, miss, Lingyan said suddenly. Yeshi turned, smiled faintly, and they continued on in companionable silence. At the palace gate, the guards made way the moment they recognized Yeshi. They passed through without hindrance and were ushered directly to the crown prince's private chambers. Shui Qingye, who had been reading, snapped the book shut and rose when Yeshi entered. Xiaoxi, you're here. He motioned for her to sit. I was just about to ask, are you leaving for a while? Yes. Yeshi sat across from him, propping her chin on her hands. I'm going to Soto City. While I'm gone, please help me look after the Frost Snow Pavilion. Shui Qing's eyebrows lifted. Soto City, how long will you be gone? 3 to 5 months, roughly, she replied. The exact time's uncertain. I'll return once I've taken care of a few matters. When are you leaving? Within the next few days, after I finish arranging things at the pavilion. He poured her a cup of tea and handed it over. I'll take care of everything here, he said softly, stroking her hair with a small smile. He wasn't worried. Everyone in Heaven Dew City knew how inseparable Ye Shi and Ling Yan were. Ye Shi thanked him, then stood and left to make her preparations. Back at the Frost Snow Pavilion, she took the main seat, crossed one leg over the other, and looked at Ling Yan. Go to the back hall and ask Dugu Bo, Dugu Yan, and Ye Lingling to come to the main hall. Ling Yan slipped away without interrupting her. Before long, the three appeared together. Dugu Bo settled into a seat with a chuckle. Since coming to live at the pavilion, his days had mostly been spent at leisure, drinking tea and enjoying comfortable hospitality. Pavilion Master, did you call us? Dugu Bo asked. I'm going to be away for a while, Ye Shi said plainly. While I'm gone, the Frost Snow Pavilion's affairs will be handled temporarily by Aunt Ye. Aunt Ye isn't here at the moment, Dugu Bo pointed out. When she returns, I'll let her know. Ye Shi nodded. Thank you, Senior Dugu. She then turned to Dugu Yan and Ye Lingling. Yan Yan, Lingling, your cultivation has been a bit slow. Tian Yue and I are already 4-ring spirit ancestors, but you two remain 3-ring spirit elders. She produced 2 small herbs from her storage bracelet. I have 2 immortal herbs, a Qiluo immortal herb and an 8-petal immortal orchid. Lingling, this Qiluo is for you. Yan Yan, the 8-petal orchid is for you. Once you absorb them, your spirit power will increase significantly. Dugu Yan took her herb and hugged Ye Shi in sudden gratitude, pressing her cheek against Ye Shi's. Ye Lingling held her herb with shining eyes, too excited to embrace but clearly moved. We're family, Ye Shi said, smiling as she gently disentangled from Dugu Yan. No need for so much fuss. Go back and absorb them first, she added. Afterwards, Senior Dugu can take you to attach a spirit ring. I still have some things to arrange. We'll go then, Dugu Yan said, and both girls left for the back hall. Dugu Bo rose, bowed slightly and grinned. If there's nothing else, this old man will return to the back hall. All right, Senior Dugu, please do. Ye Shi inclined her head in acknowledgement. Dugu Bo's steps were evidently lighter after Dugu Yan received her gift as he walked toward the back hall, his face full of contentment. Chapter 59, Leaving Heaven. Dew City watching Dugu Bo leave, Ye Shi's eyes turned to Ling Yuan, who stood nearby. Ling Yuan, go tell Xinian to prepare a carriage for tomorrow morning. We'll head to Soto City. Ling Yuan's voice was clear and bird-like. Yes, young miss. She bowed and went toward the back hall to find Xinian. Once Ling Yuan left, Ye Shi remained alone in the vast main chamber. The child of luck, little San, she murmured to herself. We're finally going to meet. Her blue eyes lifted toward the direction of Soto City, clouded for a moment by thought. After a while, she rose and walked toward the back hall. Before leaving Heaven Dew City, she wanted the affairs of Frost Snow Pavilion arranged as thoroughly as possible to avoid any troubles after she left. Night fell and the sky darkened. With everything in order, Ye Shi returned to her rooms and found Zhang Meng standing by the bathtub, testing the water with her hand. Young miss, you're back, Zhang Meng said, bowing as Ye Shi entered. Ye Shi nodded and began removing her clothes, handing them to Zhang Meng. She sank into the warm bath and closed her eyes, enjoying the comfort. Zhang Meng waited respectfully at the side, attentive as ever. Zhang Meng, Ye Shi asked softly, eyes still shut, have you ever thought about leaving? Leaving? Zhang Meng repeated, caught off guard. She straightened. Ever since Frost Snow Pavilion was established, she had never considered leaving. Many of the maids here had been bought from the Heaven Dew auction house, and as the first to follow Ye Shi, Zhang Meng enjoyed the best status and treatment among them. Have I done something wrong, young miss? No, Ye Shi said gently. I was just asking. If you ever want to leave, tell me. I can guarantee you a peaceful life with no wants. Zhang Meng's face relaxed. I've never thought of leaving, she replied without hesitation. Ye Shi nodded and said no more. Time passed quietly. Yeshi raised 2 fingers and Zhongmeng understood. She fetched Yeshi's second set of clothes from the wardrobe. The outfit was simple and black, elegant without showiness. After changing, Yeshi sat cross-legged on the bed and entered a meditative state to cultivate. Zhongmeng left without disturbing her. Early the next morning, a shaft of sunlight fell across the bed. Yeshi opened her eyes, checked the time, and stepped out. Ling Yuan fell into step silently behind her. "Young miss, Shi Nian has the carriage ready. He's waiting at the Frost Snow Pavilion entrance." "Good, let's go." They walked out to the entrance and climbed into the carriage waiting there. Shi Nian sat up front. "Pavilion master, shall we depart?" "Yes, Soto City." Shi Nian nodded and set the carriage in motion. Yeshi lifted the curtain and watched the landscape rush by, her face thoughtful. A faint, satisfied curve touched her lips before she dropped the curtain, leaned back, and closed her eyes to rest. 3 days later, the carriage drew to a halt on a street in Soto City. Yeshi and Ling Yuan climbed out. "Shi Nian, book the 3 best rooms at the finest inn in Soto City," Yeshi instructed. "I'll go explore the city with Ling Yuan." They entered a modest shop, dimly lit, no counter, old items hanging on the walls that looked worthless at first glance. In the back, on a rattan reclining chair, lay Flender, whom Yeshi had met before, resting with his eyes closed. Yeshi's gaze fell to a nearby crystal, clear but marred by large patches of dark yellow impurities. "Is this a bored crystal gold?" she wondered, then picked it up to examine it more closely. A young man and woman stepped into the shop. The young man wore a simple blue robe and looked ordinary, though his eyes were deep. The young woman was fair, lively, and had a long scorpion braid down her back. Her eyes were bright and expressive. The young man's gaze swept the room and fixed immediately on the crystal in Yeshi's hand. Ling Yuan, standing by Yeshi, locked onto the young woman the moment they entered. "Young miss, looks like we have a surprise. There's a transformed spirit beast with them," Ling Yuan said with a faint smile, sending the words to Yeshi through a sound transmission. Yeshi turned slowly to look at the pair. She hadn't met them before, but she recognized them now. The child of luck, Little San, Tang San, and his companion, the 100,000-year-old soft-boned demon rabbit. "Little San, don't stare so intently," the young woman chided. "He was just looking at that crystal," Tang San said, then pointed at it and called to the owner. "Boss, how much for that crystal?" Flender stirred and opened his eyes, finally looking at the crystal in Yeshi's hand. Chapter 60, I Have My Own Plans. Flender squinted at the translucent crystal. It wasn't of exceptional quality or value, but his gaze kept drifting to Yeshi and Tang San. "That silver-haired young lady looks familiar," he thought to himself, but he acted quickly. He raised a finger. 100. Tang San cut him off. 100 gold coins. "I'll take it," he said, ready to pay. Flender abruptly changed his price. 1,000 gold coins. 1,000 gold coins? Xiao Wu snapped. "Why don't you just rob us? You're so greedy, reaching into the coffin for money." Flender glanced at Xiao Wu, then looked away. He didn't intend to argue. He wasn't sure whether Tang San and Xiao Wu had the funds on hand, but he was certain Yeshi was not short of money. Just the hairpin in her hair, he estimated, could cover Shrek Academy's expenses for months, maybe a year. Tang San leaned close to Xiao Wu and murmured, "I only have a little over 300 gold coins. How much do you have?" "Less than 200, Xiao Wu answered with a helpless look. 600 gold coins, Ling Yuan said calmly, watching Yeshi fiddle with the crystal. She saw no real value in the piece, but if Yeshi wanted it, she wouldn't mind buying it for her. Flender hesitated, seeming to wait and see if Tang San would bid higher. Tang San glanced at the crystal, then at the coins he had, and shook his head. "Boss, we can't offer more." "Deal," Flender said, and accepted Ling Yuan's money. Ling Yuan set 600 gold coins down beside him. "Little San, let's go," Xiao Wu said, and she turned to leave the shop. Tang San shot one reluctant look at the crystal in Yeshi's hand, then followed Xiao Wu. "Ling Yuan, let's go too," Yeshi said, waving as she left the shop. Outside, Yeshi watched the direction Tang San and Xiao Wu had gone, her blue eyes thoughtful. Ling Yuan, standing beside her, leaned in. "Young miss, are we just going to let that 100,000-year transformed spirit beast go?" she asked, ready to act. "No need to rush," Yeshi replied. "I have my own plans." She shook her head lightly, then started walking in a particular direction. Ling Yuan, curious but not pressing, followed. They went to a herbalist's shop. Yeshi went straight to the counter. "Give me every highly toxic herb you have, preferably those that can kill with a single drop of blood," she said. "Also, a pot for boiling medicine." "Right away, young miss." The shopkeeper hurried to gather what she asked for. When he stepped away, Ling Yuan couldn't hold her curiosity. "Young miss, why buy so many deadly poisons?" she asked. Yeshi took the gold filament plate crystal from her storage bracelet and placed it on the counter. "From what I observed, this plate crystal can be used for poisoning." "Poisoning it?" Ling Yuan frowned. "What's the point of poisoning that thing?" "You'll see," Yeshi said with a faint, mysterious smile. About half an hour later, the shopkeeper had assembled everything. Yeshi paid, packed the ingredients into her storage bracelet, and turned to Ling Yuan. "Let's go. First, find a quiet place." She snapped her fingers and led them out toward the outskirts of Soto City. They walked until they reached a secluded patch of forest and stopped. Yeshi set the plate crystal with the gold filaments down on the soil. An external spirit bone manifested along her arm, the bloodthirsty bone blade. With a single strike, the blade smashed the plate crystal. The crystal exploded. Countless tiny golden particles burst out and scattered like a curtain of light. Without waiting, Ling Yuan began collecting them and laid them in front of Yeshi. Yeshi picked one up. Each particle was uniform in size, about like a grain of rice, perfectly round and faintly glowing. When squeezed, it felt soft and elastic. "Are these?" Ling Yuan began. "They're a kind of natural long-range weapon," Yeshi answered. "Ling Yuan, infuse one with your spirit power and throw it at that large tree." Ling Yuan did as instructed. She poured spirit power into a particle. It elongated into a strand as thin as hair. She hurled it at a nearby tree. The golden filament darted into the bark, then, as the spirit power dissipated, it curled and left a small hole. "Interesting," Ling Yuan said, examining the filament. "Against lower-ranked spirit masters, this could be very effective." Yeshi produced the poisonous herbs from her storage bracelet. "If we poison these, they should do serious damage to some higher-ranked spirit masters as well." "For a titled Douluo, though, ordinary poison won't do much," Ling Yuan said after a moment's thought. "Even Dugu Bo's poisons, he's a titled Douluo who specializes in toxins, don't affect other titled Douluo greatly." "Ordinary poison won't," Yeshi agreed softly, a small smile touching her lips. "But with the snow-colored swan kiss, it becomes a different story."